If you follow the Tech Travel Geeks here on YouTube, you might know that I'm a big fan of game controllers and that I've reviewed a few here on the channel already. I actually got one on Amazon almost a year ago, but I'm finally getting around to sharing my long-term review of it now. It's the GameSir X2 USB-C game controller, the 2021 edition. I'll share what's in the box, talk about the build quality compared to some other controllers, discuss the game support and the software, and give you my thoughts about this device compared to others I've used. The box is actually quite nice and well designed, showing the controller itself and the GameSir logo, which looks like a chicken? Actually, when you look at the back of the box, you'll notice that it's manufactured by Guangzhou Chicken Run Network Technology Company in China, so that would explain it. You can also find some technical details in English and Chinese, but we'll discuss that in a moment. Inside, it's great to see that they provide you with a nice carrying case with their branding. To be honest, I've not been using it much, as carrying a large box defeats the purpose of having a small games controller, but it's good to have it. The case contains the controller, which we'll see in a moment, and some accessories, 4 thumbstick covers, instruction manual, and a leaflet, and a few stickers, perfect if you need an angry chicken on your laptop. And finally, the controller, nicely protected in the case. The build quality of the controller itself is quite good, especially compared to the iPega controllers we reviewed earlier, which look like they're about to break. However, I'm not sure if it looks as premium as, for example, the Razer Kishi, which I'll discuss later in the video, or the MOGA controller I reviewed recently. The X2 is really small and portable, and really light as well. It has 2 rather small thumbsticks, but they work quite well. I haven't experienced any issues with them. There's also a really good D-pad, which worked well for old school games and when doing some Hadoukens in Street Fighter 4. The previous version had just 4 buttons in the shape of a D-pad, so this is much better. The design seems to be inspired by the Nintendo Switch, both with the colors of the sticks, only flipped, as well as the button setup with B, A, Y, X buttons. This will be important later, so keep that in mind. The 4 additional buttons are also inspired by Nintendo's design, placed where the plus and minus would be. Here we have the G and S at the top, the home button at the bottom right, and the screenshot button at the bottom left. There are also 2 triggers and 2 shoulder buttons, and they work really well, but are very clicky. So if you're on a bus, you might get some strange looks from others. Unfortunately, they're not analog, so pressing it slower or harder doesn't make any difference. On the back, there's some nice rubber grips, which make it easier to hold this device. There's also rubber inside to protect your phone from scratching. And on the bottom, there's just a USB-C port for charging. I think I only had to charge this device once. The energy usage is really low, and it's normally powered by the phone, so charging is not an issue. What's great is that it's pass-through charging port, so you can charge your phone while playing. You can enjoy a long gaming session without running out of juice on the phone. I really like that feature. My version comes with a built-in USB-C connector, which can be pivoted up or down when inserting a phone. Similar to the iPega controllers I reviewed, it's also a telescopic design, and it officially supports phones up to 173mm, which is similar to iPega Red Knight's 170mm. It perfectly fits smaller phones like the Xiaomi Redmi Note 11, but also my bigger phones like the Pixel 6 Pro and Poco F3, both just under 164mm, so it should easily fit most phones. That is, probably except for rugged phones like the Doogee S95 Pro, which also has a well-protected USB port that's quite deep, but that's rather an edge case. However, it might also not work with some or even most phone cases, especially if they either have a cover for the USB port, are thicker, or are the flip ones, which are my favorite ones. That's definitely something to bear in mind when buying the controller. The biggest problem is that the USB port is not long enough to reach inside the phone with the case, so the controller doesn't connect properly. I've seen someone online removing the rubber near the USB port to be able to use his case, which is a bit extreme, but it's always a possibility. But what can you use it with? There are a few versions of this controller. This one, which is designed for Android with a built-in USB-C port, an iOS version with a Lightning port, a Bluetooth version, and an older pre-2021 version that's not as stretchy and has a different type of D-pad. The fact that it's so specialized comes with some pros and cons. The big pro is how easy it is to set up and use. Just insert the phone and that's it. There's no power button, no finicky pairing, no need to install any apps, no need to have any cables on you, it just works. That's one of the main benefits of this device and why I keep on coming back to it. The other one is zero lag. Unlike Bluetooth, when connecting the controller through USB, there's almost no delay in data transmission, while it can be quite significant using Bluetooth. This is especially important if you play games on more professional level, assuming game controllers are allowed. But there are also a few disadvantages. For one, you have to have your phone plugged in directly, meaning you can't put it in a flip case on a table while just holding the controller, like you can do with Bluetooth controllers. You also can't use it with your PC, tablet, smart TV, iPhone or any other device that won't fit into it. You're limited to Android phones with USB-C. However, if you do have an Android phone and it's all you need, it's really convenient and it's definitely a benefit. How is it for gaming though? I've been really enjoying it. It's fantastic for games which support controllers out of the box. My usual go-to are platformers like Sonic the Hedgehog, and it works great as you'd expect. The same with games like Rayman Adventures or Dead Cells. It takes gaming on a phone to another level compared to using just the touchscreen. However, it was in some of those platformers where I noticed one of the issues with this controller. As mentioned, the button layout is inspired by the Switch, but most games on Android are designed for the Xbox setup in mind. It's fine in most games with basic controls like Sonic. One is jump, another is a spin, that's it. But in games which have more complex controls and use prompts to tell you which button to press, like Leo's Fortune, you might be asked to press A, which is on the right of the controller, but the game suggests it's the bottom button, which would be the case on the Xbox controller. It's similar in Dead Cells, which has quite complex controls and got me confused a few times. It got worse when you want to quit the game, and there's no letters. It just says the bottom button means yes and right means no, but it's the other way around. Oh well, not a major issue, but definitely something to keep in mind. However, other games work fine and the prompts are correct, so the issue is that some games don't implement this correctly. Luckily, I had no problems whatsoever with my favorite racing games like Asphalt Extreme or Rush Rally 3. Controlling with the analog stick is great. I normally don't game much, but always find it relaxing to do a few laps in one of those games when on the bus or traveling. You can make better use of all the buttons in fighter games like Street Fighter 4, and I found the controls quite accurate and easy to play. If you're into emulation, you should also have some fun, as controllers are fantastic for some old school games. You can have a portable console in your pocket with just your phone and this small gadget. It's definitely great. That's where I experienced another issue of the design of this controller. When I tried running the EPSXE emulator, since the phone has to be oriented in one specific way in this controller, the screen was upside down. Most games allow you to flip the screen automatically, but for this one I had to spend quite a bit of time to find a way to flip the screen. Luckily it was possible, so no problem in the end. Luckily I never experienced this in other games, and I played quite a few of them, so it's not really an issue. I also tested the controller for cloud gaming, using the NVIDIA GeForce Now service, and managed to control the Rise of the Tomb Raider, a fantastic game by the way, with no problem. It's amazing that you can play AAA games on your phone nowadays. We're really living in the future. Unfortunately, not all games on Android come with game controller support, including major titles like Genshin Impact or Call of Duty Mobile. And that's where the software comes to the rescue. Unfortunately, that's also where things become a bit complicated. You can download the GameSir app from the Play Store, and in addition to allowing you to upgrade the controller's firmware, it also allows you to control almost any game with the X2. The way it works is that the controller emulates touching the screen, so you can tell the game where the different on-screen buttons are and map that to a specific button. You can also map pressing 2 buttons at once, as well as the left and right sticks and the D-pad. Luckily, there are predefined control setups for a number of major games like Genshin Impact, so you don't have to spend time configuring it. And if you need to adjust it, you can easily do that for each game separately. To use it, you also need to change the controller mode, from the blue light to the green, by pressing the G button and the home button at the same time. Really easy to do. I also tried playing Call of Duty Mobile with the controller, and I have to admit that it took me a bit of time to get used to it. The right stick wasn't super responsive for that game when looking around, but I'm more of a mouse plus keyboard guy when it comes to shooters, and I'm sure you can get used to it. The one downside is that once you open the GameSir app, it stays open in the background and pops up whenever you open any game or even a YouTube video in full screen. I tried to switch it off a few times, but there doesn't seem to be any option to do that. It always hides in the background. So to switch it off, you either go to App Settings and force close it, or reboot your phone. Not ideal. Overall, after using the controller for quite a while from time to time, I'm really happy with it. The build quality and design are really good, the controller is sturdy, and I'm especially happy with how small it is and how easy it is to just take it with me anywhere and use it when needed. I especially like the plug and play quality. No need to charge anything, no cables needed, it just works. However, there are a few issues like the flipped buttons, problems with using cases, the software being a bit problematic, etc. Plus, I wouldn't say that it's really a premium design, and I have to admit that the £70 I paid was quite steep. You'll have to decide for yourself if it's worth it. As I was finishing this review, I noticed that this device's main competitor, the aforementioned Razer Kishi, was just discounted on Amazon UK to £53 from almost £100 just a while ago, so I ended up ordering it, and I've been using it for a day or two now. It does look a bit more premium, and it's smaller, but I'm not the biggest fan of its telescopic mechanism, so I'll have to try it out for longer. Since the Kishi is now cheaper though, it's definitely worth considering, so please stay tuned. I'll need to test it for a while longer and will share my thoughts on the channel. That's it for this video, thanks for watching, and do stay tuned for our other videos, including the upcoming unboxing and review of the Razer Kishi. But for now, thanks for watching.